What you're about to see in this video are the most terrifying transport roads that I'm sure you've never seen before. This is the moment your vehicle is dangling over the abyss on a road situated right in the middle of the most impossible places. They call this the death curve, and when you look at that smoking engine, I know you understand why. On every stretch of these roads, you're literally entrusting your life to fate just to get through. So right now, buckle up tight and let's start crossing the most dangerous roads in the world together with Haida Planet. Bayburt D 915, Turkey. The most dangerous section of the road lies between Ov and Bayburt, particularly the steep climb at Derabasha turns. Here, you'll face 29 extremely sharp hairpin turns on a steep mountainside. Most notably, this section of the road has no guardrails, which is the most worth the money aspect. On one side is a cliff, on the other, a bottomless abyss, and absolutely no protective barriers whatsoever. One mistake here often leaves no opportunity for correction. Along with that, the curves are so tight that trucks or large SUVs often have to reverse a notch to be able to navigate the entire corner. Sani Pass, Lesotho. Don't skip ahead. Join Haida Planet as we offer the most insightful perspectives on this road to heaven. It's not just a road. It's a delicate ribbon of cobblestones connecting KwaZulu-Natal with the Cloud Kingdom of Lesotho. Reaching its summit at 2,874 meters above sea level, there are hairpin bends with terrifying gradients of up to 1 to 3. South African authorities ban two-wheel drive vehicles from ascending certain passes. Only 4x4 vehicles are allowed to pass. The closer you get to the summit, the more brutal the road becomes, with sharp, narrow turns where one slip of the wheel means plugging hundreds of meters into the abyss. This is not a place for the faint-hearted or novice drivers. North Yungas Road, Bolivia. Why has a road only about 60 to 70 kilometers long become a global terror? Let's look at these horrifying numbers and characteristics. The road winds from an altitude of over 4,600 meters at La Cumbre Pass before plunging straight down into the Amazon rainforest. The abrupt changes in pressure and climate are an extreme challenge on the impossible places. Most sections of the road are only about 3 meters wide, just enough for a single truck. Imagine two vehicles facing each other on the edge of a precipice with no guardrails. Along with dense fog that reduces visibility to zero, torrential waterfalls cascade down onto the road, and landslides can occur at any moment. Fairy Meadows Road, Pakistan. What lies before you is not a road. It is a 16-kilometer test of character. This route leads to the Fairy Meadows, right at the foot of the killer mountain, Nanga Parbat. The name sounds poetic, but driving here is actually a nightmare. The road is only wide enough for a single jeep. What if you encounter an oncoming vehicle? Now, one of you will have to back up along the edge of the precipice until you find a slightly wider spot. Zoji La Pass, India. Located at an altitude of over 3,500 meters in the Himalayas, Zoji La is more than just a mountain pass. It's a lifeline connecting the Kashmir Valley with the remote Ladakh region. But don't let the majestic views fool you. This is a true nightmare for any professional driver. Due to melting snow and rain, the road surface frequently turns into a slippery, muddy mess. Just one wrong press of the accelerator, and the vehicle will immediately lose control. What do you think of the sight of hundreds of heavy trucks and passenger buses crammed together on a rough, rocky dirt road? Along with the excessive snowfall, the pass is often closed throughout the winter. Stelvio Pass Road, Italy. If you think you're a good driver, and head to Stelvio Pass in the northern Italian Alps. Viewed from above, it resembles a giant concrete snake attempting to wrap itself around the mountain at an altitude of 2,757 meters. This road has a total of 75 sharp turns, with 48 of them on the eastern side alone. with the realistic feeling that you're not just driving, you're constantly turning the steering wheel to the point of dizziness. Every tight, steep curve is brutal. Low cars scrape bottom, and long ones often have to reverse and retry. If you're driving or traveling through here, remember to master engine braking, unless you want your trip to become a horror action movie. Guoliang Tunnel Road, China. Nestled deep within the Taihang Mountains, it stands as a testament to the unwavering will of humankind. Before 1972, when the village of Guoliang was almost completely isolated from the world. To change their fate, 13 brave villagers used chisels and iron hammers to carve into the mountain for 5 long years. The road is uneven, with jagged cliffs and sharp turns, meaning that even a slight mistake by the driver can be costly. If you were given a supercar and asked to drive it through this tunnel, would you dare to get behind the wheel? Transfagarasan Highway, Romania. This place is known as the most beautiful road in the world, but it's also the most grueling test of courage for any driver. Sitting in the driver's seat, I took a deep breath before embarking on a journey filled with both caution and excitement. This wasn't simply a transport route, it was a colossal rock dragon winding its way at an altitude of over 2,000 meters. From above, most the Transfagarasan looks like a soft ribbon of silk, but when you're behind the wheel, it's a series of U-shaped turns. Your hands will be constantly moving, your eyes will never leave the road, and your foot on the brake pedal will always be on red alert. Leh-Manali Highway, India. The most frightening aspect here is the average altitude of over 4,000 meters. Here, the air is so thin that car engines experience a significant reduction in power, and drivers can easily suffer from altitude sickness. Don't expect a smooth road surface throughout your journey. Rock slides, even a light rain, can cause entire mountain slopes to collapse. There are stretches of road that are actually a raging stream of melting ice, causing the wheels to skid along the edge of a precipice. Karakoram Highway, West Pakistan. If there were a ranking of the most daring transportation projects, KKH would undoubtedly hold the top spot. This is not simply a road. It is a testament to humanity's insane challenge to Mother Nature. Imagine you're driving a truck loaded with goods, surrounded by mountain peaks over 7,000 meters high. On one side is a sheer cliff, on the other is the deep abyss of the Indus River. You'll feel as small as a grain of sand as the air thins out as you approach the Karakoram Pass at over 4,700 meters. The engine roars from lack of oxygen, and your lungs begin to protest. James W. Dalton Highway, Alaska. If you're sitting in a warm room with a cup of coffee in your hand, cherish that moment. Because Haida Planet is about to take you into a land of ice and danger. This is not a road for novice drivers or family picnics in the impossible places. It is a ribbon of rock over 660 kilometers long, cutting through the desolate tundra to connect the oil fields in Prudhoe Bay with the outside world. In winter, it transforms into a giant mirror of ice. A single tap of the brakes is enough to send your heavy truck dancing over the abyss. Atlantic Ocean Road, Norway. The most iconic highlight is the Storseisundet Bridge, which, viewed from afar, looks like a bridge to nowhere. As you accelerate uphill, the curve of the bridge makes the road ahead completely disappear from view. You feel like you're about to plunge straight into the sea. This is a psychological challenge. It requires you to trust your steering more than what you see. To be honest, if you go on a sunny day, This is paradise. But the danger here is unexpected. Skipper's Canyon Road, New Zealand. Built during the 1880s gold rush. This road is like a thin ribbon clinging to the sheer cliffs of Skipper's Canyon. You're probably wondering why it's so notorious, aren't you? The road is so narrow, it barely fits one car, with a chasm hundreds of meters deep below, leading straight down to the Shotover River. The road surface is mostly gravel and loam. Just a light rain turns it into an inescapable, slippery trap. Most car insurance companies in New Zealand have a clause stating that your insurance will be voided as soon as your wheels touch this road. In other words, if something happens, you are completely alone in impossible places. Kolyma Highway, Russia. Russians call it the Road of Bones. Just the name alone is enough to send chills down your spine. First, and we must talk about the history of this road connecting Magadan and Yakutsk. It was built during the Stalin era by Gulag prisoners. You are walking on a massive cemetery where an estimated hundreds of thousands of people fell while breaking through the rocks. Every meter you travel is soaked with sweat and blood. On this journey, the car is not just a means of transportation, it's armor. And your companions are not just friends, they are your only salvation. Keylong Kishtwar Road, India. If you thought mountain passes were a challenge, the Keylong Kishtwar route will make you think again. This is why it's been dubbed one of the world's most dangerous roads, impossible places. The road is located at an altitude of over 4,000 meters above sea level. On one side is a sheer rock wall, and on the other, a chasm hundreds of meters deep with no protective barriers whatsoever. Just one split-second mistake, and the landing will be in the bottomless abyss. Nawabpur Road, Dhaka, Bangladesh. In Nawabpur, you'll find a chaotic mix of traffic, with thousands of vehicles intertwined like a tangled mess. The porters strain to push the goods, squeezing through gaps just a few centimeters wide. This is the largest center for mechanical and electronic goods in Bangladesh. You'll see long iron pipes, gas cylinders, and giant generators being transported crudely right over people's heads. Inching along in the 40 degrees Celsius heat with the blaring car horns could drive any sane driver insane. With the high density of flammable goods and the tangled network of electrical wires overhead, Nawabpur is a time bomb. Los Caracoles Pass, Chile, Argentina. What makes Los Caracoles even more dangerous is the extremely high volume of truck traffic. Imagine container trucks, dozens of meters long, having to perform a 180-degree turn on a steep incline. The danger here doesn't just come from the terrain, but also from the need for patience. Just one engine failure or brake failure can paralyze the entire pass, and a chain reaction disaster is almost inevitable. If you were offered $40,000 for a night of life or death in the Andes, would you dare to sit behind the wheel? A 6 Highway North Cape, Norway. The North American sea route is Norway's main artery, but the further north you go, the more extreme it becomes. There were stretches of road so narrow that two large trucks going in opposite directions had to squeeze past each other. On one side was a sheer cliff, on the other, a chasm leading straight down to the frigid Arctic Ocean. Plunging into the deep ocean and then climbing back up in total darkness puts insane stress on the braking system. Along with the whiteout phenomenon caused by snowstorms, it becomes impossible to distinguish between roads and ravines. Karnali Highway, Nepal. Nestled deep in the mountains of western Nepal, this 232-kilometer road connects the town of Surkhet with the Jumla region. But don't let the length fool you. This is a place where every meter of the road is earned with courage. The deep ravines are unguarded, and most of the most dangerous sections have absolutely no guardrails. Drivers here need nerves of steel and extremely precise hands. The alarmingly high accident rate here makes balancing on the edge of the cliff a true game of chance. Route 500 has to Canada. If you hate traffic jams, Route 500 is paradise. But if you fear loneliness, it's a nightmare. There are stretches of road, hundreds of kilometers long, where you won't see a soul, no cell phone signal, and absolutely no gas stations. The extreme weather in Labrador leaves the roads constantly battered with deep potholes and gravel that can tear your tires in an instant. When it snows, Route 500 turns into a white, inescapable tunnel. Blizzards can reduce visibility to 0 in seconds, and temperatures can drop below -40 degrees Celsius. Under these conditions, do not turn off the engine if the vehicle stalls and you lack proper survival gear. Paso de los Libertadores, Chile, Argentina. Famous for the Los Caracoles hairpin bends, this is the most famous section on the Chilean side. Imagine 29 consecutive hairpin bends, stacked on top of each other like thin slices of a giant cake. There are no sturdy enough barriers to stop a truck weighing tens of tons if its brakes fail. Plus, heavy snowfall in winter can turn the road surface into a giant ice rink. Strong winds from the Andes Mountains frequently threaten the balance of the towering shipping containers. Despite the danger, every day thousands of massive trucks crawl up the slope in a line, creating a sight that is both majestic and terrifying. Sichuan-Tibet Highway, China. Located on Highway 550, this stretch of road connects Silverton and Ouray via the Red Mountain Pass. So why is it called the $1 Million Road? The notable thing is, there are no guardrails at all, because they're worried snow would get trapped and couldn't be pushed off the cliff. The road takes you up to an altitude of over 3,350 meters. At this altitude, the air is thinner, and the hairpin bends become extremely sharp. For heavy truck drivers, This isn't a tourist trip, it's a battle of wits. If you rely solely on the brakes, they'll overheat and fail before you even see the bottom of the hill. $1 Million Highway, USA. Most of the most dangerous sections are where sheer drops of hundreds of meters are right next to the tires, with absolutely no guardrails. The snow could be pushed straight down the cliff, but that made the driver feel that just a second of inattention could be the end of it. The curves are so sharp that you feel like the front of the car is already in Silverton, while the rear is still in Auray. If driving a sedan is difficult, imagine being a heavy truck driver transporting goods through here. You have to line up perfectly, too close to the cliff wall and you scrape the truck, too close to the edge and there's no room to correct. If you don't know the technique of engine braking, your vehicle will become a runaway block of metal hurtling down the ravine. '99 Turn Road, China. Starting from an altitude of 200 meters and soaring straight up to 1,300 meters above sea level. Most of the curves are hairpin bends with 180-degree angles stacked on top of each other. Descending the mountain pass with its 99 hairpin bends demands extreme braking performance. Even a slight lapse in concentration can lead to brake failure due to overheating, leaving the driver with no chance to correct the mistake. The fog in Zhangjiajie is notoriously thick. At times, drivers can only see a few meters in front of their vehicle. Driving on a thin ribbon of silk between clouds with a series of sharp turns can easily cause dizziness and disorientation. BR-116, Brazil. The most notable example is the Serra do Cafezal stretch near São Paulo. Just a small malfunction in the braking system can turn a truck into an uncontrollable pile of metal. In dense fog, visibility can drop to near zero in an instant, turning driving into a game of chance. As a major freight route, the BR-116 is always packed with container trucks and heavy vehicles. The significant speed differences and high traffic density mean that chain reaction collisions are commonplace. Guoliang Tunnel Road. This is a chasm hundreds of meters deep, with no reliable guardrails, only a few crude stone pillars erected by villagers in the 1970s. The tunnel is approximately 1.2 kilometers long, only 4 meters wide and 5 meters high, just wide enough for 2 small cars to squeeze past each other in a split second. The villagers here carved it out themselves with hammers and chisels, meter by meter, for 5 arduous years, just to escape isolation. Previously, they only had a slippery and deadly stone staircase leading to the sky. Many people lost their lives during its construction. They never imagined that this path to survival would become one of the most dangerous routes on the planet. BR-116. It is Brazil's longest main artery, as running from north to south. But don't let appearances fool you. This is where driving skill accounts for only 50%. The other 50% is luck and courage. The stretch of road from Curitiba to São Paulo is a real nightmare. You'll face a series of hairpin bends alongside precipices. The fog here is so thick that you can feel like you're driving through a giant cloud. Visibility is sometimes reduced to just a few meters, turning every turn into a gamble with death. Despite being a vital artery, the road surface quality of BR-116 presents a significant challenge. Commonwealth Avenue. If you ever thought familiar streets were already difficult, then Commonwealth Avenue Metro Manila will make you think again. With an official speed limit of 60 kilometers per hour, buses and some private drivers actually travel at 80 to 100 kilometers per hour as if nothing happened. Near many accidents result from overspeeding and loss of control. With an estimated 3 to 5 accidents per day, it has consistently ranked among the deadliest roads in the Philippines for many years. At one point, it was even ranked highly on the global list of dangerous roads, although it wasn't the typical treacherous mountain road. Sani Pass. When you get here, don't expect smooth, paved roads. Because Sani Pass is a combination of rocks, mud, and hairpin bends so steep, you feel like you're driving up a house wall. Due to strict regulations, the South African authorities only allow 4x4 vehicles to go up the mountain. If you bring a sedan here, the border guards will flatly refuse because they don't want to have to retrieve the wreckage from the ravine. Just a slight misstep or loss of balance on the rocky terrain, and then the car will instantly slide backward through impossible places. Trollstigen. With 11 consecutive hairpin bends, each almost 180 degrees, and an average gradient of 9 to 10%, reaching up to 11% in some places. The car goes up like an elevator ride, and down like bungee jumping with the brakes applied. Narrow road, many sections barely 1 lane wide, cliff on one side, abyss on the other, feels like driving on the edge of a chessboard. Large tourist buses still run regularly, and encountering them on the road is a nightmare. Many drivers recall their first time driving, heart pounding, hands sweaty, even at 10 degrees Celsius. If you're driving yourself, a manual transmission is better than an automatic because it offers better control over speed when going downhill. Transfagarasan Highway. Reaching an altitude of 2,042 meters, and this road traverses the Carpathian Mountains with steep and continuous hairpin bends. Viewed from above, it resembles a ribbon of silk thrown down the mountainside in a chaotic yet artistic manner. The weather is unpredictable. You start in warm sunshine, but reach the summit in thick fog or even summer snow. In many sections, the distance between your wheels and the abyss is only a few handspans, with rather modest guardrails. And don't be surprised if you have to brake suddenly because a flock of sheep is leisurely crossing the road. Kahakili Highway. The road is about 20 to 35 miles long, but the most dangerous section is only about 9 to 13 kilometers. It narrows to a single lane carved directly into the mountainside, with a sheer cliff on one side and a hundreds of meters deep abyss on the other. There are no guardrails and no clear markings in many places, blind U-shaped bends and frequent rockfalls. Two-way road, but only wide enough for one car, so one vehicle often has to reverse tens of meters when meeting oncoming traffic. Many people describe having to reverse while their heart pounds, sweat pours, praying no big truck or SUV comes barreling toward them. Canning Stock Route, Australia. Holds the title of the longest and most remote trail on the planet between impossible places. Established in 1910 for herding cattle, it has no paved roads, no convenient gas stations, and most importantly, no room for error. To get here, you'll have to navigate around 51 giant sand dunes. The road surface is mostly extremely bumpy, corrugations, which can break axles or cause any unsecured components to fall off. If your car breaks down in the middle of the road, our towing costs can run into tens of thousands of dollars, and you may have to wait for days. D915, Bayburt off. This is the road connecting with Bayburt, approximately 106 kilometers long, but the most notorious section is the Derabasha Virajlara area. The area features 29 to 38 extremely sharp hairpin bends, including a 5.1 kilometer section with 17 consecutive bends. With an altitude ranging from approximately 1,712 meters to 2,035 meters above sea level, the slope reaches up to 17%. The road is so narrow that when two cars meet, they often have to back up to give way, and there are no guardrails. The road is mostly gravel, with a poor surface prone to landslides, and the weather is unpredictable, making it especially dangerous in winter. Many people describe the feeling of driving here as heart-pounding, eyes glued to the road, unafraid to look over to the cliff. Passage du Gois. A causeway, approximately 4.12 kilometers long, connects Noirmoutier Island to the mainland. What makes it legendary isn't its steepness or curves, but the fact that it only exists for a few hours each day. When the tide rises, the road completely disappears under the Atlantic Ocean's water, which is up to 4 meters deep. When the water receded, it was revealed like a silken ribbon, covered in green moss and mud. Driving through here, you only have a narrow passage for about 1.5 hours before and after the lowest tide to cross. Just a moment's delay and your car will turn into a submarine. Stelvio Pass. This is one of the highest mountain passes in the Alps, located on the Italian-Swiss border, connecting Valtellina with the Adige Valley. What really makes it legendary isn't the height, but the 48 to 60 hairpin bends, especially the north side's 48 stone-numbered curves. Many sections are only wide enough for one vehicle, and some narrow curves require large vehicles to maneuver multiple times to get through. Low concrete barriers, with a hundreds of meters deep drop right outside, brake 0.5 seconds late, or steer even slightly off, and you're instantly gone. With a history of crashes, from legend Sterling Moss's accident here, to countless cars going off due to the sharp corner. If you're confident in yourself, love adrenaline, and want a once-in-a-lifetime experience, then this is a challenge worth facing. Los Caracoles Pass. If you think you're a skilled driver, Los Caracoles will make you think again. Located at an altitude of over 3,000 meters in the majestic Andes Mountains, this trail is not for the faint of heart. Caracoles, in Spanish, means snail, viewed from above, the sharp curves stacked upon each other like the spirals of a snail shell. This is a continuous, winding stretch of asphalt, forcing drivers to constantly turn the steering wheel. The path climbs relentlessly uphill with no guardrails in many sections. A small mistake could lead straight to a deep ravine. For much of the year, This road is covered in snow, making driving up the steep slope a terrible test of skill and mental fortitude. Rohtang Pass. Located at an altitude of approximately 3,978 meters above sea level, about 51 to 53 kilometers from Manali. Along with hundreds of consecutive hairpin bends, many sections of the road are so narrow that only one car can pass at a time. On one side is a sheer cliff, on the other, a chasm hundreds of meters deep. Here, a moment of inattention and you could be sent flying. Many people call Rohtang a pile of corpses because accidents and deaths due to bad weather occur frequently. The tourism boom has led to thousands of cars crowding together, causing traffic jams that can last 4 to 6 hours, or even an entire day. This is a real challenge. It's terrifying, addictive, and so beautiful that you forget your fear when you're standing at the top. Zoji La Pass. Located at an altitude of approximately 3,528 meters above sea level, it connects the Kashmir Valley with the Ladakh region. On one side are sheer cliffs, on the other, a bottomless abyss. There are sections that are barely wide enough for a truck to pass, turning avoiding oncoming traffic into a tense battle of wits. And there's no premium asphalt here. The road surface is mostly dirt, gravel, and mud. Your car will literally dance